Hey everyone, we're Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric, and we have Lucas as always.
Hey everyone.
So, what we're going to be talking about today is JHK's updated forecast on the 2020 presidential election. We will be taking a look at the battleground states and how they've changed.
That is correct. We're going to do this video actually in a different format than our previous JHK analysis videos because those tend to be too long and seem kind of repetitive of our regular presidential election predictions. So we'll just be like kind of comparing the data and like not really stating our full reasoning. You can watch our video on that if you want to know that. But we'll be just kind of saying if we agree with it or not and a brief reasoning for why not or why. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So as always, let's actually start by looking at the bottom stuff first. Let's see, national overview. We actually got an update here, which is that they have added third-party candidates here now. We have Joe Jorgensen, who is the Libertarian candidate, and Howie Hawkins, who is the Green Party candidate. Jorgensen, people do think will sometimes could take some votes away from Donald Trump because, libertarians do tend to be more favorable for the Republicans. And Howie Hawkins could potentially take former Bernie supporters' votes away from Joe Biden because Howie Hawkins is further left than a Joe Biden candidate, more in the progressive field. Let's look at what's changed. And I got to admit, JHK, I remember before, like, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but before Biden was at 86%.
He
And
was.
they're just not showing that here. I remember at one point in time he really was at
I
83%.
think he
So
was at 87, if not
87. Yeah, I
88%.
agree with that too. I don't think they're being accurate here showing the full data, but anyways. 83%, how things have changed, as we said previously, trended up at around, Corona getting a lot worse than people thought. We saw a little bump there, but what really gave him the bump was the Black Lives Matter movement, which really helped him a lot because people started viewing President Trump. Well, a lot of people still viewed him as being negative, but now even more negative for his handling of it. Popular vote, we see the same thing. Jorgensen getting obviously a lot less than, well, not a lot, but a percentage less than what Johnson got because she really isn't like one polling that well or two fundraising as well as Johnson did in 2016. Johnson was at like 7% of the polls at this point. Jorgensen is not up to that number. Electoral votes wise, 340. I think that's around there. We give it 334.
Yeah.
Very close. This is very close to our actual prediction.
Yep.
Now what's different? They flipped Maine second district. I don't think it's going to flip.
Yeah.
Probably will go to Trump anyway. Very rural area.
That's a bit of a reach.
I agree. Now, tipping point states, essentially, as it says here, each election comes down to a few states. Which ones are the closest, which one will decide the election. No surprise here, it's probably going to be Florida.
Yeah.
29 electoral votes can really swing that election one way or another. And that's why they have Florida probably as the tipping point state.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
also not far from Florida is the whole blue wall because once again Donald Trump was able to win just because he won the blue wall and he secured the vote, which is why they're putting on the 2020 presidential election, they're putting the blue wall as a tipping point.
That's correct. I agree with that. So let's actually look at the map now, the state-by-state battleground states. Let's start with probably the safest battleground state at this moment, and I'll start with this one. The most likely state to go to Joe Biden, 9 out of 10. I agree with that. I think it is around that number. Gives Jorgensen 1.9, Hawkins 1.0. I think that's pretty within the ballpark. 8.3 point lead, a little bit too high in my opinion. I think a little bit less than 8.3 points, but somewhere in that ballpark. Again, I don't think this graph is accurate. They had him at 90. Oh, he did. Okay, it is maybe. But I think it was higher than 90%. I think it was at 91% before. They're not showing that in this graph. Very strange.
Mm-hmm.
But again, same pattern as in the national forecast as explained before.
Yeah, and also what's also helping Biden's chances here, as I've said in countless videos before, Donald Trump pulled ads out of here. He is not campaigning here as much or at all at this rate, which essentially gives Joe Biden the go ahead to secure Michigan, and polls and fundamentals, as Lucas is showing, really does support that.
Mm-hmm. Right, and in general, the African American elector will probably be pretty good for Biden here because he does very well with those African American voters. Generally, polling looks very good for Joe Biden here. Either double-digit numbers or nearly double digits, except for a few of these. But for the most part, looking very good in polling. So that's enough for Michigan. Let's head back to the national forecast. Eric will actually now explain Pennsylvania. Yep. All right.
Yep. So Pennsylvania is at an 83-16 for Donald Trump. This is another state in the blue wall that Donald Trump did narrowly win in 2016. Because with Pennsylvania, as Lucas has explained before, there's Philadelphia and that metropolitan area in eastern Pennsylvania, and then there's central Pennsylvania, which is very rural. There's actually an interesting video where this woman was showing a very rare occurrence, which was a pretty liberal town in central Pennsylvania, which shows how much of how conservative it is over there. But here we see Joe Biden is up, that's 7. He's up 7 points here in Pennsylvania. And we do give Pennsylvania a lean likely area, so this makes sense. And Joe Biden, as we see in this graph on the bottom, he has been pretty stable here. In the projected vote, it's definitely going up, but it has stabled out for the past month. A few ups and downs, but Joe Biden has secured the vote here. All he needs to do is campaign here, reach out to these voters, unlike what Hillary Clinton did in 2016, which caused her to lose.
Right, and although it does give him a 6.5 point lead, I actually kind of disagree with that. I think it's going to be narrower by the time we get to election day because 6.5 win in Pennsylvania. We haven't seen that since Obama. I don't even know if he won Pennsylvania by 6.5 points. Polling overall has been looking pretty good for Biden. Good showing here. So we do think Biden will probably win Pennsylvania at the end of the day. And the final state in the blue wall, if he can carry all of these 3 states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, he effectively wins the election because he goes over that threshold. How's Wisconsin looking? 6.3 point lead projection. I disagree with that. I think it's going to be less than that. It's going to probably narrow up as well by the time we get to election day. Looking at this, I don't think this is accurate. I think he was at 83%. I clearly remember this graph showing this projection showing 83%, but I guess it's kind of off. It's not letting me click for some reason.
Wisconsin is one of these conservative areas, so winning by 6 points is actually a bit of a stretch. I think this election, this time, it's definitely going to be easier for Joe Biden to win it, but 6 points, I think just a little. The margins are just a bit too high for a state like Wisconsin. Yeah,
this is very strange. It's not working, but we did have Trump winning here at a point in time. That point in time has obviously changed now. If we're seeing an 80-20 split, it's looking pretty likely for Biden to win this 5.8 point lead in fundamentals. Polling-wise, 7.6 points. I agree with that. It looks pretty good for Joe Biden. Expert ratings, I don't really like to trust expert ratings because those are not necessarily updated frequently and all the time is accurate. So, all right. Anyways, let's now head to let's go North Carolina. Eric, why don't you briefly explain this one?
Yeah, so North Carolina is one of these battleground states that, once again, Donald Trump did win this in 2016. Now, obviously, times have changed. It is a pretty slight lead here. North Carolina is pretty contested, a bit more contested than you would think. Right now, I think the most recent, if Lucas can hover over that, it is 50-47 plus 2.4. So not like the blue wall. North Carolina is actually pretty competitive. Donald Trump was thinking about having his national convention here, but the Democratic governor, Roy Cooper, kind of rejected that. And right now, people might down ballot or not. This is a chance that people might down ballot for the Senate and the presidential race, but that is not completely certain, but it's possible. But I kind of do agree. North Carolina is a bit more contested than one might think, but there is a slight lead for Joe Biden. We currently give this a lean Democratic margin.
Right, and actually, you make a good point there that people might not down ballot. We saw some split balloting in 2016 with Governor Roy Cooper, and President Trump. They were both on the same ticket at the same time. North Carolina went to Donald Trump in the presidential election, but of course, Roy Cooper won the governor's election. So that's very interesting to see. Polling has looked pretty favorable for Biden, up except in the recent poll, up in basically every poll. Wow, point plus 10. I don't think that's accurate. Yeah, that's a very high undecided number.
Lots of outliers in these
yeah. But it actually looks like majority does look like it is Biden. So North Carolina, we do think is in a relatively good position to go to Joe Biden right now.
Mm-hmm. Even if Donald Trump does win North Carolina, which isn't that likely, Joe Biden still has countless other ways to win.
Right.
It is definitely not over if he loses this state.
Right, and as I said before, after winning the blue wall, which looks very likely at the moment, everything else is just bonus because you just need the blue wall to win. You don't need Florida. You don't need North Carolina. You don't need Arizona. You don't need New Hampshire. Everything else is bonus. I'm going to actually head now into Florida. We made a whole video on this one, and we'll dig into it again. High coronavirus cases not looking good for Ron DeSantis, a staunch Trump ally. He campaigned as a Trump ally. He won. He's not doing a good job handling the virus right now. We're seeing new records in the state of Florida. Definitely not looking good on that. 5.1 point lead for Joe Biden. It actually has dipped. I think it has dipped since we kind of made that video. Definitely. But yeah, this is interesting. And this was a contested state back in March. If you asked me in March who would win this state, I probably would have said Trump. It was leading Trump at the moment. That has obviously shifted a lot. It's currently lean Biden at the moment. Completely did a 360. Actually, I don't think it's 360. I think it's a 180, but one of those. But looking very good for Joe Biden right now. Polling supports that as well. We see every single poll essentially showing a lead for Biden. Obviously, that lead has dipped recently, but it's still looking quite good for Biden here. Let's head back to the national forecast.
I really wonder, Joe Biden is bound to choose his vice president any day now, maybe, possibly any hour. We're not really sure. I really wonder how significant that would change the presidential map and secure some of these states. So we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think that's interesting. We'll find out either tomorrow or Wednesday, I believe. So that's pretty cool. All right. How about Eric? You touch on Texas now.
Yeah. So Texas, as we know, is a very, very huge surprise. At one point, we made a video regarding how Joe Biden was in the lead in the polls. For context, Texas is a super, super Republican state. Well, not anymore, according to these polls, that showed Biden up by, 0.7. Now, yes, Trump is in the lead, but once again, by less than 1%. And this is Texas. This is kind of shocking because it took quite the turn. We still do think Donald Trump is going to win this state, but not in the margin, definitely not in the margins we were thinking before. Right now, in the state of Texas, Donald Trump is only up by 2.7. And the reason being is probably because of the Latinos and Latinas here, and they are trying to express themselves. But look at this. And
I also think it is also like, the more of the suburb voters too, maybe not voting for Trump anymore either.
Yeah. Things have
look at that.
Narrowed up here.
Yeah, they have. I mean, it's definitely not – Biden's not the favorite here, but it has become contested. He's not going to win in a 9-point margin like he did in 2016. It's going to be much closer now. So adjusted polling is actually a tie here. 530, I believe, gives it a slight lead for Trump, but definitely very close, and we got to keep an eye on this. All right, back to national forecast. We're going to now head to Arizona, which has narrowed since their last prediction. And I got to say, again, I don't think this is accurate how they're showing it, because I believe Biden was up by a lot more before, and they're not showing it in this graph. I don't know why. I think it was up in like the 70s.
As we said in a previous video, we were expecting Biden's lead to kind of narrow up just a little. It was going to be, very depending on the state, but it's just that the high point of the Democratic Party is kind of over. It is, this trend that, but although we see a little bit of slippage of Joe Biden in the polls, he is, consistently holding the state down, the state of Arizona down, as we see in that graph and in all of these fundamentals and the polls. He is leading in essentially all of them. Not as much as one might think, because, well, once again, Arizona is this new developing swing state. So it's already fascinating that he is leading here, because there are a lot of conservative Republicans here, but they are being balanced out by Latinos and Latinas who want to turn out in this election and are turning out in these polls.
Again, the only poll here showing him leading is Trafalgar, which really does swing to the right. You can say they were right in past elections, but that's because they got lucky doing polls at the last second. They're known for the right bias, so we don't really trust them that much. All right, anyways, heading back to the national forecast now, we're going to head to – let's do this. Let's go Georgia, Ohio, and Iowa. I'll start with Ohio here. We got actually interesting news coming out that John Kasich is expected to speak at the Democratic National Convention, likely expected to endorse Joe Biden there, which is kind of interesting because it could swing some of those more moderate, undecided Republican voters to the Biden column. It's definitely possible. So let's take a look at this 1.5 point lead for Donald Trump. I agree with that. Actually, I think a little bit larger for Trump, because I do think this state will probably go to him. Projected vote has, Ohio's actually not been, okay, it did change a little bit, but it still has Biden losing. Mm-hmm. I think I agree with that. Fundamentals, 1 point. Obviously, Ohio's pretty conservative, although technically a swing state does lean to the right. Adjusted polling average, 0.6. In console YouGov, polling has been interesting. We actually saw Biden take the lead here, which is quite interesting to see. All right. Eric, why don't you now go to Georgia?
Yep. So I think this also, JHK has decided to give Trump a bit more of a lead, which I think is a bit more reasonable because, yes, Georgia is swinging to the left, but it still is a pretty conservative area and does swing to the right, of course. Right now, I guess the projected vote shows only Donald Trump only up by 0.9. I think Georgia's going to go in a lean tilt area. We're thinking about putting Georgia as tilt, but I'm not really sure. There was a news story all day on the television that, kids in Georgia counties are getting coronavirus because they're not treating the situation properly. I wonder if that could swing it, because I guess parents should and are concerned for their children's health. But Donald Trump has a pretty significant lead. It's enough of a lead to win the state. Once again, Georgia is known to be not anymore, but it used to be known to be also a fairly conservative area. But times are definitely changing this time, and there are two big events that are driving that: Black Lives Matter and coronavirus.
And also, I got to point out again, this map is not accurate, or this chart is not accurate. It had Biden leading at 1 point. I'm not sure why they're not showing it, but it should have Biden leading. But at 1 point at least, because he was leading. Obviously, Biden's up now. Same trend as before. Certain time periods will see it dip down. Once here and then once in the beginning of June to where we are today. Same thing, projected vote. No shock here. Polls were actually at 1 point showing Biden leading. Things have changed, obviously. So like Monmouth showed it plus R, +1, +3, even. So things have swung into the Trump favor column. But it was expected. Georgia's pretty Republican anyway. We didn't think it was really going to actually go to Biden at the end of the day. So final state we'll be taking a look at is Iowa. Fairly conservative area. 0.2, really, that's it. I think Trump's going to win a little bit more than that. Trump actually won the state in 2016 more than Texas. He won it by 9 point something. Things have obviously changed here as well. This is a more conservative area compared to some of the other swing states. I think it's going to be relatively close, but definitely not within like 0.2. I think that's a little bit too close. Polling does show this is more safe for Trump too. 3, 2, 2, 1. We saw one poll with him 6, one poll 2, but I think that those are likely outliers because we do see Trump overall leading. So I do think Trump at the end of the day will carry the state of Iowa more than by 0.2, though. Definitely more than 0.2. And that is the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. We did not do a video like this in a while. So thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. If you like our content, please hit subscribe. Can we hit 2K by the end of next week? Can we do that? Or actually, can we get to 2K by this weekend? Can we?
Yeah. Seems like a reasonable goal. Come on, guys. Please subscribe.
Anyways, we'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.